scratch the surface. I've barely had a taste, but just a glimpse draws my heart to change. And one side of you lays my sin to waste. I don't need to see everything, just more of you. Take it all away. Magnify the wonder. Open up my eyes to you. Take it all away. Magnify no other name. Open up my eyes to you. My sight is incomplete, and I made you look small. I've been staring at my problems for way too long. Realign where my hope is set, until you're all that's left.
Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, June 9th, and we're so glad you're joining us. I do want to announce a few things. Our website is under construction, so it's down just for a little while longer. And our address for Facebook is Medford umchurch.org. Yeah, medfordumchurch.org. We're happy to have you. We have a board meeting tomorrow night by Zoom at 6:30 p.m.
So if you're on the board, you should be getting a reminder email tomorrow with that link in it.
Right, tomorrow morning you'll have the link. And before we get into James, the third chapter, you want to center us?
Yes. All right. So take a moment, get in a comfortable position, sit with an open posture, back straight, be able to take a deep breath in. Breathe in from your diaphragm and inhale the presence of God. The Spirit that is breath is with you. And exhale any tension, anxiety, lethargy. And inhale the life of God, the breath of life. And exhale anything that's causing you worry, anxiety. And breathe in. Breathe out. Spirit of peace, thank you for your presence with us. Thank you for your care for us. Thank you for your life. Bless this time we have together, and as we look at the book of James. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I enjoyed your use of the word lethargy. Not many of you, this is James chapter 3, and it's about taming the tongue. And I'll be reading the first 12 verses. Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers and sisters, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness, for all of us make many mistakes. Anyone who makes no mistakes in speaking is perfect, able to keep the whole body in check with a bridle. If we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we guide their whole bodies. Or look at ships, though they are so large that it takes strong winds to drive them, yet they are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great exploits. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue is placed among our members as a world of iniquity. It stains the whole body. It sets on fire the cycle of nature, and is itself set on fire by hell. Every species of beast and of bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by the human species, but no one can tame the tongue. a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse those who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessings and curse. My brothers and sisters, this ought not to be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and brackish water?
No.
Okay, you're answering me. Can a fig tree, my brothers and sisters, yield olives, or a grapevine fig? No more can salt water yield fresh. So these words from James really warn us about our speech, our use of the tongue. So we'll focus on that, on how faithful Christians speak about other human beings made in God's own image. It calls us to account for abusive language, which we know we have been guilty of speaking. To get to this argument, James begins with a meditation on human speech. I think he does has wonderful images here, and the potentially destructive power of the human tongue. James counsels the community that not many of us should become teachers. That same Greek sentence actually reads, do not become many teachers. That is, do not turn your community into a group of teachers that you think you all could teach. His rationale being that a teacher will be more harshly judged than others. I think of this whenever I'm speaking from the pulpit, that, hey, it is quite a privilege how many people get the opportunity to speak to people who are sitting there listening every week. It's quite an opportunity. Or for a school teacher who has students, whether children or adults, sitting there in the class, sometimes required. So with the privilege of speaking and being heard comes the responsibility of being careful with what we say.
I have an almost 11-year-old at home who, if I say anything wrong, she will
correct you.
She will correct me.
So she's good for you.
And she will set me straight.
Yeah. So those who are teachers and those in authority, those who speak to large crowds that have influence, so that would be politicians, leaders, need to have control over what they say or what we say. Who are those who have been good stewards of this privilege of speaking, and who are those who have abused it in recent years or recent days? And I know that so much of that comes to mind. Teachers of James' day, they gave public discourse to which the students and hearers gathered around, not unlike today, unlike preachers and politicians. Especially if you're admired by your congregation, or if you're in a political rally and people admire the speaker, rally for that person, vote for that person, a heavy responsibility lies on us. Because imagine how easily we can cause harm, or we can cause discord, we can cause rebellion or violence. Who can imagine a teacher never misplacing a word or saying things that were unfortunate? I know that I have.
Yeah. I have, when I've preached, I've corrected my sermon from last week in the sermon that I was giving that week.
Yeah,
because I've noticed, I made a mistake, and I don't necessarily cop to making a mistake. I just redirect, because people don't remember what you say in a sermon anyway.
Right. I've also had, even recently, people call me or email me in recent years to correct me. This happened 2 weeks ago when I gave the sermon, and that I was giving a list of people who were strong leaders, and someone emailed me and said, Ben, they were all men. And I emailed her back and said, you are absolutely correct, and I stand corrected. I should have had women there. So we need people to be honest with us, to call us to that accountability, because we're going to make mistakes, and we need some humility on our part.
Yeah.
Or when we use a word that is outdated and carries a lot of baggage and weight that's hurtful.
Yeah.
Right. James argues that the tongue has a capacity to destroy one's religious practice, their faith, and I think that's true.
Yeah.
I have a few gay friends who are afraid to go to church because of things that were said from the pulpit that have just really hurt them deeply in a sermon, and they didn't feel like they had a way out. They were trapped. They felt unsafe.
Yeah, I have some friends as well that would have been their story.
Right. So I've heard those stories, and I've been part of that as well, to hear those stories, be on the other end of that. So James really invites us to meditate.
Meditate.
Right. To meditate, to think about how we speak, to put ourselves aside, to take the time aside before we speak, to be careful.
That's really hard for me, Ben, and I'll tell you why, is I'm an extrovert. And as an extrovert, I don't even know what I think about things till I've said it out loud.
Yeah, and see, that's maybe why we're good with bouncing off each other, because I'm an introvert. And one of the things people struggle with is I don't speak right away. I have to take time, because being an introvert, I need that time apart.
Yeah.
Which has its own downfalls, because sometimes I should have said something a week ago, but it's taken me that long to think about it.
Right.
So there's downfalls on both sides, or good and positives on both sides. But the United Methodists, anybody in the Methodist tradition, I really should say, have 3 simple rules that Wesley gave us. Do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. And that can really be applied to discourse, and especially can be applied to social media. Do you know that I've read here that about 70% of all communication now is nonverbal, which you would think about, with email and the web and texting.
And hand gestures.
And hand gestures. There we go. Well, yeah, that could be a dangerous form of communication, especially if you're driving.
Right.
Yes. We may easily misunderstand what someone is trying to convey on media, or we just don't think. Well,
and it's also interesting, like when James is writing this about the tongue, that was like the easiest form of communication.
Yes.
Now, like if you were to publish something in that day, I mean, papyri was expensive. You made sure
I figured they just got out of their backyard and dried it in the sun.
Yeah, but but if you're disseminating it, you're going to take some time to make sure your words are well chosen. Now we hit send before we think about it.
I'm close friends with a political cartoonist in the South, in North Carolina, and he said that, we're the same age, so when he went into being a political cartoonist for a newspaper, everything was by letter. But he said when we went electronically to email, he said conversation became much more harsh. It became, he said, even a little more dangerous, because people, for that exact reason, didn't have to sit down, write a letter, put an envelope, get a stamp, put it in the mailbox. They could just sit at their computer and blast away.
Yeah.
But do good. Let's start with that. Do good. Doing all the good we can means to engage others proactively in a way that is that nourished goodness and strengthens community. Nourishes goodness and strengthens community. Assess every word and act to determine if it brings God's grace and goodness to others. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or something else, social media very quickly embeds us in other people's lives. How we engage online can have a profound effect on the people with whom we connect. Use social media to extend hospitality and goodness to all, or to demonstrate God's love to our neighbors. Or we could even say our digital neighbors.
Digital, yeah. Who's your neighbor?
My digital neighbor. All those friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Whether engaging as an individual or as a representative of your church, think about every status update. And think about that when you do an update. Think of who you represent as a child of God, or if you follow Jesus, as a follower of Jesus. What the status of your update, your comments, your post, as an outlet of doing good rather than doing evil. Of doing good. Would you describe the post as good? Is a question we can ask. Does it reflect God's interest or your own self-interest? does it serve the good of the community?
Yeah. So, and I think with that is interesting because when you say, is it good, you're not saying necessarily, is it nice? That there's room for speaking prophetically in doing good.
Yes. It's a really tricky thing, though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's partly my age. I really think, though, to speak truth, to speak good, to have an impact. And while I understand the power of reaching so many people through Facebook, Instagram, but to really have impact on an individual, on a friend, or on people of your community in person has more power, because you're seeing the person's face. They see your face.
Yeah.
And they're in the flesh. They're a living, breathing human being. They're in the conversation. But yeah, you're right. Will it help God's reign and God's reign of love on what you're posting? How will those outside the church perceive what we put out there? Are they going to perceive it as, oh, I don't want to be called a Christian, or I don't want to be associated with that congregation? How will people of different cultures or faith backgrounds or different religions perceive what we put out there?
Yeah.
Right. Do you communicate effectively by asking questions and providing information? So do good. I actually skipped do no harm. No, do no harm. Did I skip do no harm?
You did, but we can talk about that.
We'll do no harm.
Yeah. Well,
what is the intent of the post?
Do
no harm.
What is the intent? And we were talking briefly about this before, but when we talk about political correctness, there are people that are reactive against anything that smacks of political correctness, but it's just talking about people in a way that
you're not doing them harm.
We're not
Good
doing
point.
them harm that they want. You're giving people the respect that they want for themselves. So you're finding non-harmful ways of saying things.
Very good. Right. Does do no harm? Does it focus on judgment, or is it focusing on condemning someone else?
Yeah.
Does it speak disparagingly about another group of people?
Yeah.
Even if you disagree with them politically, is it sacrificing in some way their humanity? Yeah. Do I try to use facts and opinions to manipulate? Am I trying to manipulate others of what I'm posting? Could this post do harm to the reputation of me as a person of faith and to the organization that I represent? So if I'm a pastor, which I am, in what I post, does it do harm to the congregation that I represent?
Yeah.
Could someone interpret the post as harmful, offensive, rude, or could it be seen as distasteful? Does this interaction recognize each person involved as a child of God, a recipient of love unearned, love unlimited, and love undeserved? I know that's a lot to ask, but I think it's worth asking those questions.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot there. And then stay in love with God. Stay in love with God. Social media can be a powerful channel to represent Christ to the community. Stories can show how God transforms lives and communities in the world. Social media provides a way to share those stories. And we've been doing so much of that with worship online.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it fits in the three rules here.
Go for it, James.
But I also think that there's a point where we have to say there's things that need to be said. So, for example, just thinking of what's going on with the uprisings and protests in the wake of George Floyd's death, my African American friends and people of color friends will say, "Why are you white people silent?" and so sometimes speaking up is the way to do good, to not do harm, and to call things out that need to be called, and to lift up people that need to be lifted up.
Right. Right. I think we are also seeing the difference in our ages with social media, because I actually post very, very little.
I know.
I call myself
I challenged you to do 25 push-ups, and you still have not seen the
because
post.
I probably haven't got on my Facebook in a month. But and I have to really, it's a learning curve for me. The value of Facebook and Instagram and sharing opinions. But I still go to the fact that if I'm going to share my opinion, that I want to be present with the person that I'm sharing with. I know I can't reach as many people that way, but sometimes I feel as though it's an easy way to hide. Although your name's on it, I don't know. It's just a struggle for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a right answer, but I do think, there is a right answer. But
no, I want to hear your right answer. Hear what you think is the right answer. This is part of the enjoyable debate.
Well, I think that you don't have to post something online that says that this is my thoughts on it, but you have to take a stand for what's right and do that somehow with your speech.
Okay, you're not saying you necessarily have to do it online, but you have to do it somehow with your speech.
I can understand, and I am as conflicted about hashtag activism as anybody, because is that really making a difference in people's lives? And you're right. You need to stand with people.
I think of our elders, and I mean, some stuff on social media I think is good. I see that. But I'm going back to some of our elders, like some of the elders in this congregation who have wisdom, and I'm actually going to call her name out.
Do it.
I'll do it. But you know where Bobby and Dale stand, and yet they never go on social media by the way they live their lives. And by the things they have said to me that have actually been pretty outspoken.
Yeah.
But they've said it in a gentle way, and they've had an effect on me in the year that I've been here.
Yeah.
Just because they're comfortable with who they are and what they say, and they say their speech wisely.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're kind of my model.
There you go. Way to go, Bobby. Way to go, Dale.
But yeah, I mean, social media does I do think it's an important part of our society now.
Yeah.
And it needs to be used wisely.
Yeah, well, speaking of what wisdom, that's where I get to go
Next week.
Thursday.
I enjoyed this.
We're going to talk about wisdom.
Wisdom. Right. Take care, and we'll see you on Thursday.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.